The London game, Vikings-Jets. Vikings remaining undefeated. That's like the 6th game to get to. It was a great slate of NFL matches in week 5. Vikings-Jets, though. Vikings, yeah, Sam Darnold revenge game, baby. And the Jets, meanwhile, fall below 500 and fired Robert Saleh. So instead of this being a Vikings segment, it's going to be more of a Jets segment. Credit to the Vikings. Their defense played great. No Aaron Jones, didn't seem to matter. Darnold didn't look amazing, but he did what he needed to do. He made the right throws. With Minnesota, it's very simple. I think they're a good team, much better than I had. Preseason, I said they'd win 7 games. Now, they've already won 5. So they're probably a 10 or 11 win team when it's all said and done. Maybe they get to 12. They're going to lose some games. Sam Darnold is bound to have some bad games. But they feel like a playoff team, 10 or 11 wins, maybe 12. I still don't think they're as good as Detroit. And so that's why, I talked about it in my power rankings. Until they play Detroit next week, I think Detroit will win. And until I see Minnesota beat Detroit, I'm going to rank Detroit as a better team, even with their loss to Tampa, because I think Detroit is better than Minnesota. Now with the Jets. So Saleh's gone, may or may not have been because of Aaron Rodgers. Nathaniel Hackett also no longer calling plays. Man, dude, I wanted to believe in the Jets this year. I really did. And I think I think a big part of that was because I just wanted to see one more great season of a guy in Aaron Rodgers who I watched growing up as a kid. And when I was a kid, he was a legend. He was a legend. He was the best quarterback in the NFL for about 6 years. Right? It was Manning when I first got into football was right when Rodgers took over, because Manning got hurt, and then it was like, okay, Manning's no longer the best, and he had a good season. Peyton Manning had an amazing MVP season in 2013, maybe one of the best seasons of all time. But even at that point, the general consensus was that Rodgers was the best quarterback in the league for that 5-year stretch. Because Manning had 1 great year in those 5 years. Rodgers had like 4 great years in those 5 years. And he won a Super Bowl, and he won 4 MVPs. But at the later stages of his career, what happened? Well, he stopped winning in the playoffs. He lost 4 straight NFC championship games. Brady, meanwhile, Brady won 4 more Super Bowls. So all of a sudden, Rodgers wasn't the best anymore. He had been surpassed by a 40-year-old Tom. And then they both got surpassed by Mahomes. So even when he left Green Bay, he was no longer the top quarterback in the league. He was like maybe the 5th or 6th best. It was Mahomes and Allen, Lamar, Burrow, and Rodgers was still considered to be a top 10 quarterback when he left Green Bay, but the injury has clearly set him back. And it feels to me like this isn't going to work. And I kind of wish he would have just retired. I hate to say that. Because the offense doesn't look great. The defense is fine, but coaching problems, cadence issues, receivers aren't catching balls, Rodgers is making bad throws. He threw 3 picks against Minnesota. You can't win when you throw 3 interceptions. I know it was close in the end, 23-17, but you can't win by throwing 3 interceptions. You can't win the amount of times the Jets face 3rd and long. It's incredible that they were even competitive. They lost to Denver, ugly. I think Jets fans thought they would be 4-1. I think they thought the Vikings would be an easier win than they thought, and I think obviously Denver we thought they would win that game. But you're 2-3, and I think they'll lose to Buffalo, and then they'll be 2-4. They'll be 2-4. They'll be 2 back of the division. They'll be at least a game back of the wild card. And now with an interim head coach, Jeff Ulbrich, all power to you. I kind of feel bad for the guy because he's in a tough situation. So we'll see.